Hey guys, it's Lucas and Esther. We are here talking about this Sunday's lesson, which is going to be for October the 6th in the Bible Studies for Life Kids material. We're starting a new unit this week, so this is session 1 of unit 2, and we're going to be talking a lot about the way that God provides for us. This week's lesson is concerning Noah, and it is specifically about God's provision for Noah and his family and how God provides for all of our needs. So we got a few things that we're going to be looking at. Our scripture this week, we normally go over it with you guys, but this week we are looking at almost the entirety of Genesis chapters 6, 7, 8, and 9. Yeah. So we just want to encourage you, review those things on your own. We're going to give you the specific scriptures that we're going to be looking at that the lesson's over. But the story of Noah is one that we're probably all pretty familiar with if we've been in church for any amount of time. And for most of us as teachers, this is something that we're going to have at least a general knowledge of. But it's always good. Go back to the biblical source. Esther, what are our foundations of biblical learning for this week?
So for this unit, we're studying God's awesome promises during the month of October. So we've been in the New Testament talking about Jesus and his work. And last week we talked about Jesus having breakfast with the disciples.
Right.
Now we're going to jump back into the Old Testament and talk about just God's character. So the main things that we're going to be covering this month are building the kids' understanding of who God is, the types of covenants that he makes with his people, his work of salvation in the world, and how faithful he is to keep those promises. So today, or rather this Sunday, which will be October the 6th, our level of learning is that God is creator and he is worthy to be praised. Our unit verse for this month is right here behind us. It's Acts 13, 32 and 33. It says, "We ourselves proclaim to you the good news of the promise that was made to our ancestors. God has fulfilled this for us." So Becca and Tori, you guys as the lead teachers are going to be working with the kids to come up with some hand signals to help them memorize that verse. And again, we do have payment for children who are doing well with that in the form of jelly beans.
Ooh,
so
such good payment.
I pay well for good work. So encourage them with that. And this week, our Bible verse just for the week is Genesis 9:13.
And Genesis 9:13 is, "I have placed my bow in the clouds, and it will be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth." One of the things we really want to encourage you guys to do as teachers and facilitators is to show the kids that you're actually reading stuff from your Bible. One of the most important things that we can do is to teach our kiddos how to use their Bible. That it's not scary, that it's something that is for them, that not only is something that was created, that God made for them to use and to learn by, but teaching them how to use it, how to look up verses and those kind of things. So that way when they're doing their study on their own or they're doing their study with their parents or whatever, that they're learning how to use the Bible, that they're becoming familiar with it, and it doesn't become like this, oh my gosh, it's this huge scary book with all this stuff in it, that instead they realize that the Bible is for them. Yeah. And I think that's a really important thing.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to jump right into the plans for the Sunday school hour.
Let's do it.
Just for our team, other teams might use this video, but for us at First Baptist Lake Dallas, this Sunday I am not going to be there, but it's going to be okay. It's going to be even super great.
I quit.
All of the supplies will be ready and laid out for you on the table, so it should be easy, and you're going to have the handy dandy reference sheet right here. So everything's written out. So Sunday morning, of course, we always do an early service that starts at 8:30, and then we have Sunday school hour kind of sandwiched in the middle, and then we have another big service at the end. The first and the last parts of those, the bread of our sandwich, if you will, are the same, but the meat in the middle is the Sunday school hour. So we're going to start with the meat, and then we'll get to the bread. So we always start off with some music playing in the background. We welcome our kiddos by name. They'll have their little label sticker on, so no reason not to call them by their names. That's important. So say hello, get to know how their week has been going, and then when you feel like you've welcomed most of your kids into class, then we're going to start off with a game. We like to do that just to kind of set the tone that we're here to have fun and to learn about God, and that is enjoyable. So this Sunday, Pastor Lucas, our game is going to involve measuring water. since we're talking about Noah,
All right.
and we're going to hear exactly how many cubits of water and such got dumped onto the earth.
Oh,
We are
nice.
going to do some measuring, and I kind of like science.
Sure.
I like working it in where I can.
Certainly, Doctor.
So we'll have a big tub of water, and we are going to measure spoonfuls of water to see which team can fill up their water cup.
Yeah,
That's a tough word.
certainly.
Which can fill up their cup first, and how many spoons of water it took.
Wow.
I need to know. So
Very nice.
that should take up a little time and get us all ready to have a good time together. So that'll be our introductory game.
Great.
And then we're going to lead into our story room with a few questions. Why is it important to know how much water? You can talk about recipes. What if mom bakes a cake with the wrong amount of eggs or something like that?
Yeah.
Amounts are important, and God thought that they were important enough to tell us exactly how big the ark should have been and exactly how much water was used to cover the earth, and those kind of things are detailed for us in Genesis. So we're going to talk a little bit about specifics. So once you gather your kiddos into story room or your area, wherever your church does story time, hopefully that's a separate little area so that kids kind of know what to expect in different stations. That helps them get their brains ready to behave and to respond in a certain way if they go to a different area for that. So we like to go to our story room, and the teacher's going to have this picture. On the back of it has got the story of Noah all outlined for you. That is also found in your leader's book on page 53. It's the very same story written out there for you. Additionally, that story is word for word what's going to be in the video presentation that we're going to watch during Big Church.
Oh, cool.
So lots of chances for those same words to be reiterated to the kids, just to be sure that they have a good understanding. So this will go through, shall I read it, or do you think we're good? Or
You know what? Why don't you just go ahead and read it?
Okay.
Right? It can't hurt to refresh us on what the story is.
Okay, here you go, kids. Get in your comfy spot. In Noah's day, the people were wicked. They did many wrong things and had evil and sinful thoughts. But Noah was different. He was a good and righteous man who obeyed and honored God. God told Noah, "Because the people are evil, I have decided to put an end to everything on earth. Make an ark for you and your family." By the way, just pause. It was only 10 generations from the time that God had created the entire world and said that it was good to this time of Noah where the people had just devolved into utter wickedness. It's not very long. 10 generations.
That's not. But those people did live a lot longer back then.
That's a good point.
So when we think 10 generations, we might be like, oh my gosh, 10 generations, that's only 250 years. But some of these guys, it was 250 years before they had kids.
It's true. It's
So,
true.
But still, strictly speaking, it's all proportional, right?
Yeah.
They wouldn't have known any different.
Right. So teach your children well. Okay. So make an ark for you and your whole family, God said to Noah. Use gopher wood and build the ark 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. Cover the ark with sticky pitch to make it waterproof. Take your family on the ark. Take 7 pairs of every clean animal and 1 pair of every unclean animal. Also, pack food for all of you. Pastor Lucas, why did they need 7 pairs of all the clean animals?
Because it was nicer than having pairs of the unclean animals.
They had to have enough extra for sacrifices when they were done, when they got off the boat.
That makes sense. It also seems very dangerous to have the burning sacrifice on the boat.
See?
So it was good that they waited until after.
Yeah. So there you go. Kids are going to ask you that. Why were there
Yeah.
7 and 2? That's why. Because you don't want to burn stuff on boats.
Don't put fire on the boat. The boat made of pitch seems very flammable.
Doesn't it?
Yes.
So, like Aquanet, I'm just picturing Noah's wife and the
Yeah.
daughter-in-law. It's like,
They're just, don't make the sacrifice. I'm using my white rain.
don't do the hairspray fireballs. Okay, Noah followed God's instructions very carefully. 2 of each animal came to Noah and entered the ark, just as God had commanded. When Noah's family and the animals were on the ark, God safely shut them in, and the rain began. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights. The earth was flooded, and water covered everything. For months, the floodwaters got higher and higher. Everyone in the ark was safe. After the water went down, the ark landed safely on a mountain. Noah waited 40 days and then opened the window and sent out a raven. The raven flew back and forth until the waters dried up. Then Noah sent out a dove, but she came back to the ark because she could not find a dry place to rest. After 7 more days, Noah sent out the dove again. This time she came back with an olive leaf in her beak. A week later, Noah sent out the dove again, and this time she did not return. The water that covered the earth had dried up. When it was time, God told Noah and his family to come out of the ark. Noah built an altar, and he and his family worshipped God. God had promised that he would never again destroy every living thing on the earth with floodwaters. He placed a rainbow in the sky as a sign of his promise. We do also have the little Noah toy set in the back.
Oh, yeah, we do.
With the little boats and all the animals. So this would be a great thing to bring in, especially if you've got preschool and elementary school age kids combined together. The preschoolers might really enjoy having an animal to hold on to while you're telling the story.
Yeah, kind of brings it to life a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, where we're at in the school year, we're just about at the 40-day mark. So if you want a good frame of reference for our students, how long really is 40 days? Well, it's from this Sunday all the way back to when you started school. Yeah. And when you think about, as a kid, how school seems to go on and on and on, right? I can imagine
that
if you've got 40 days and 40 nights of rain and floodwaters, it's got to be a pretty arduous experience.
Right.
So that might be a good kind of frame of reference to put it for the kids. It's like, hey, remember when school started to now? That's been about 40 days. How long does that seem? It's like, oh my gosh, well, that's how long it rained. Could be a great way to kind of give them a frame of reference and put it in terms they can understand.
It helps. That helped me put it in terms I can understand. So thank you.
You already feel like school started too long ago.
I feel like it's been forever, and I'm not even going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got some review questions that you definitely are going to want to take some time to review all this stuff with the kids. They're right here on the side for you, but these are kind of what Pastor Lucas Loosely is going to reference when he is interviewing the kids a little bit during Kids Corner when we go to Big Church.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about, in that instance, we've got a couple of games left before we get to Kids Corner. But we'll be talking not just about the lesson, but about a couple of the specific things, like the animals and that kind of stuff. So prep the kids for it, because the more prepared they are, the better their answers are, and the funnier they are, the more entertaining, which is really, as much as the Kids Corner is about us showing that we care about the kids, there's a big entertainment factor to it.
It's pretty great. It is my favorite part of church.
No doubt.
I love worship. I really like singing to the Lord, but I really love when the children are talking about Him.
Absolutely.
So once we're done reviewing story time, since we're in a new unit, we are going to be focusing on a different missionary family. So this time our missions video is going to be about a group in Spain.
All right.
And the video is the one that's entitled A New Life for Abraham. Abraham is the name of the main missionary in this family in Seville, Spain. So,
right on.
Yeah, so that'll
Very
be
cool.
exciting, something new for the kids to learn about. They've been focused on our missionary family in London during the last month, so going to Spain this year and seeing what God's doing there. And then as we are finishing up that time, what I'd like for you guys to do as kind of a closing game is going to be a Bible skills game. I'm going to have little cups for you, much like this cup that is currently full of coffee.
Oh, very nice. We're
but-
giving the children coffee for the game. That should be a game one week. Just give the kids coffee, and then the game is for the parents afterwards.
I like that.
I do too.
Sure.
I think it'll be great. Heads up, folks.
So we're going to have some cups that have the books of the Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Old Testament.
Okay.
So Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And the kids are going to use big tongs, like kitchen tongs, to pick up the cups and put them in the right order.
Oh, cool.
And it'll be a relay race. So you'll have 2 teams, and each team has to try to get 1 cup at a time in order. Does that make sense? So kid 1 on the relay race will go Genesis. And the tongs really are just to make it more difficult and enjoyable for the teacher to watch.
There you go.
So you're welcome for the tongs. But that'll be our little Bible skills game. And then if you have any extra time after that, you can go back and practice the unit memory verse or the weekly verse with your kids. When it's time, we usually do it right about 10:45, 10:50. We line up and get ready to come quietly down the hall into Big Church, We sit together during Big Church on the front row. We sing a song with the whole church, and then Pastor Lucas does some announcements, and then he calls the kids up for Kids Corner.
Right, so in Kids Corner, the very first thing that I always ask the kids is, what'd you learn in Sunday school? And normally we get some really great answers about stuff that they learned in Sunday school, and whatever else has been on their mind throughout the week or whatever project they help their dad with.
Sometimes a commentary on your appearance that way.
You know what? That's often true. Yeah.
Gracie has opinions.
She does, as well as some of our other kids that do and don't like my beard, depending on the Sunday.
You remember when you had all that long hair?
I remember that, when I used to be so cool, and now I'm just this guy. So we'll be talking specifically about what you guys learned, and then there are some questions that I'm going to want the answers to, like, how many animals were on the ark? Of what kind? Why were there more clean animals than unclean animals? Talking to him about the sacrifice and those kind of things, and why it's important that we honor God. And one of the reasons that Noah provided for God, or was provided for by God rather, is that he continued to honor God when the rest of the world didn't. And that no matter whenever we feel like we're in positions that maybe we're isolated or we're singled out because of our love for God, or maybe we just feel like we're alone sometimes, that God is always, always, always with us, that he's always for us, and that in those times, one of the things I learned is that, like, loneliness and feeling alone is actually God calling us into his presence. And that no matter what, if we honor God, God's going to provide for us. And that'll be one of the things that we gently bring home for those kids as we send them off to Big Church. And one of the things that we really want to make sure that you guys do is that each and every time that we have our kids together is an opportunity for us to present the gospel for them. And one of the reasons this verse that we're looking at in Acts is so important is God's provision for us is Jesus. He provided for Noah by making sure that Noah and his family were safe, but he provided for us to not have to worry about constant sacrifices like we've been talking about on Sunday mornings as we go through the book of Hebrews. He provided for us a way to be able to be with him in heaven, and that provision is Christ. And here, whenever we're talking about, the promise that was made to our ancestors, that God has fulfilled it when we look at these verses in Acts that are over this entire unit, that fulfillment was Christ. And so those are really great ways that we can tie the gospel in directly to the Old Testament lessons that our kids are learning about.
That's really good. Okay, so when we come down the hall back to Big Church, again, we usually capture a few more children at this time, so you're going to have some kids that didn't go through the story
Just
yet.
make sure you empty the traps properly after we capture the kids, because it can be a little rough.
They're kid-friendly traps. It's good. So we are going to introduce those new little ones into the group with a new game. So this first game that we're going to play is an animal sounds game. So teacher, you are going to go first. And what you're going to do is make an animal sound. And whichever kid guesses your animal sound gets to be the next one to make an animal sound.
Right on.
So we'll pass that around a little bit. Teachers, when you feel like you've got their attention and before you lose it again, when you've got them all together and they're focused on you, then you're going to take them back into story room. You're going to be watching the couple of videos for this week. So there are always two videos. One goes back over our Bible story, and the other one is going to be about our little friend Alexandria Halazandria and her escapades through the Mooseberry Academy.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough, but what we're finding is that the time she has invested in studying scripture is paying dividends for her, because she has had tons of... You love it when I use big words.
I was trying to figure it out.
Oh, stop.
It hurt. I'm going to have to take an Advil.
He's really smart, you guys. He's really smart. But you are going to see what her adventure is for this week. She has had weekly assignments kind of sprung on her, and because of her understanding of scripture, she's been able to use each of those to kind of talk about God. So that's been cool.
That's pretty awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
Good job, Alexandria.
That's the one.
That's her.
She felt really ill-equipped for this school, but even in situations that we feel like are difficult for us, God can help us meet those challenges. So that's what we want to remind the kids that we're learning from those videos.
Gotcha.
And then when you're done with those, I always take this page and just kind of recap to be sure that the kiddos who missed Sunday school have got a good understanding. We go back through some of these review questions and just be sure that they had a chance to absorb all of that truth. And then once you are done, during that story time, you will go ahead and give them snacks. Last week we had that amazing brunch, so we skipped snack time. Much to the dismay of some of my youngsters. They
wanted snacks even after brunch?
They were miserably full, and they were like, "But Miss Esther, it's usually snack time right now." I was like, I think you're going to be okay.
You can't even eat anything else
right
right now.
I was like, if I poke your little tummy, you're going to... So, this week we're back to snacks. So they'll have snack time during story, and then when we're all done with that, we're going to separate out into two groups rather. And one group will go to snack time. I'm focused now. I'm on the snacks. I cannot get away from snacks. One group is going to go play a game.
Is it your cheat day? Is that what's happening right now?
It's been a cheat week. I went to the State Fair on Monday.
Oh, yep. That'll ruin any meal plan.
All we're
we
gonna
don't
say.
diet around here.
Yeah. So one group is going to go to game time, and the other group to craft time. So in game time, you are going to be playing color corners. I had to read this a couple of times, so let me be sure I understand it properly and I can explain it to you. You will have 4 different sheets of colored paper. So like red, blue, yellow, green, whatever you want to pick. In fact, I will have them out for you, so they'll probably be red, blue, yellow, green. There will be a sheet of paper taped to each wall in the big room, and then there will be smaller pieces in a little baggie. So the person who is going to stand in the middle of the room and close their eyes and count to 10. When they are counting, the people in the space are going to be moving toward one of those pieces of paper. When the person gets to 1, from 10 down to 1, when they get to 1, they will pull out a colored piece of paper, and whatever color that is the no-no color. So whoever is by that piece of paper sits down. Does that make sense?
Oh,
and then
gotcha.
We go again. So eventually we get to just one person, and that person is the next it. Okay? So as they move out toward the colored pieces of paper, that determines whether they're it or not. Is it more complicated the more I say it?
No, you're fine.
Okay.
If it seems more complicated, it is written in the leader book on page 58.
58, if you want to review it for yourself. But I'll have papers on the wall and a little baggie with papers, and you can figure out a game if you don't like this one. And then for craft time, we are going to be making these lovely pop-up rainbows. So this is a paper plate that I bent and cut a hole in the middle of it, and then we are going to use those little scented paints that we have in our classroom.
Why are they scented?
Smell it.
Smell like fruit punch.
Yeah.
So many smells.
It was going to smell either like paint or like this.
Yeah.
So this is glittery and smellier. I don't know, it's a different smell. Anyway, it's what we have and we're going to use it.
There we go.
So it's a great opportunity to teach them some artistic knowledge about the color spectrum there and the orders of the color of the rainbow. So there you go. So when you're done with craft time, then you'll rotate out into the other station, and then we'll be still in those stations when parents come to pick up the kids. So we like to be in the middle of an activity when parents retrieve their children rather than just in chaos. It assures the parents that the kids have had some kind of a formal learning environment, so that is reassuring to them. And then when the kids get picked up, they will get one of these little story pages to go home with. So on one side, it gives, again, that very same story that we went over several times while they're here. Here are some little nuggets that parents can go over with them, including a little Bible verse for every day of the week.
That's cool.
Yes, and then on the back side, they've got various activities that are age appropriate for the kiddos.
This one's a crossword puzzle, and this one is addition.
Wow.
It's
Seems
very
intense.
very much like
Lots
school.
of fun.
Yeah.
Lots of fun.
Good luck with your Common Core math, folks.
So again, we always want to go over the ABCs and be sure the kids have a clear presentation of the gospel. We use the admit that we are sinners, that we've done things wrong. B, believe that Jesus paid the price for our sins when he died on the cross. And C, that we choose to follow him every day and make him the Lord of our lives. We have that on a big hot pink poster in the back. And the kids can pretty much say it with you. They know that pretty well. But be sure that we do talk to them about that and offer a chance for them to make a decision to follow the Lord and to pray with you about that. We always want to encourage them to grow to whatever is the next step of their relationship with the Lord. For some of our kids, they've already accepted the Lord and they've obeyed in baptism. And for them, the next step is maybe encouraging them to start doing a little bit of daily Bible reading and prayer. For those kids that you think might be in that group, be sure and point out to them these little Bible verses they can go over every day. And maybe even if you're the lead teacher in that group or you're going to be there pretty consistently, encourage them that, hey, if you'll do that, I'll do that. And you tell me next Sunday what was your favorite one. So just kind of work with the kids on a little bit of discipling and helping them get closer to the Lord.
Yeah, and this is something that we give the parents. I encourage the parents to do it too. It's, in all actuality, one Bible verse, it's not a ton. It's not a lot to read, but having your kid find it in the Bible, showing them how to find it in the Bible, again, that's just something, whenever they realize that the Bible is for them, from a young age, it makes it that much less intimidating as you get older and you have more of a desire to use it. So, and that's a great way to bring families together and to promote discipleship in the home. So, I think that's about it.
Yeah.
So
well, you guys have a
week.
great time this Sunday. I can't wait to hear how everything goes.
All right. Thanks, guys. God bless. We're praying for you.